Uh, you know that specific feeling when you're watching a movie and there's an actor who is just, they're just okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like they're hitting their marks, but
Exactly. They're saying the lines, but you never, for a single second, forget that they're acting. It just feels, I don't know, slightly stiff.
right, the suspension of disbelief just never really kicks in.
Yeah. Now, compare that to someone learning a language. You can you can memorize the entire dictionary, you can absolutely ace the grammar tests, but the second you open your mouth in the real
And
world,
go buy a coffee or something.
right, or ask for directions, you often feel and sound exactly like that bad actor.
Yeah.
You're reading from a script you don't quite understand.
It's what I actually like to call the uncanny valley of language learning.
Oh, the uncanny valley.
Yeah, because you might be grammatically correct, technically speaking, but socially, you're just slightly off. You're a simulation of a speaker, not the real thing.
And that is exactly what we're deconstructing today. We aren't looking at textbooks or grammar tables for this deep dive. We're going into what I'm calling the scripts of reality.
I like that term.
Thanks. We've pulled together a stack of transcripts, actual performance data from Speak English Daily, the Mr. English channel, and the Maximia podcast.
And the mission here for you listening is really different from your typical language lesson. We aren't trying to teach you a list of 10 new words to memorize. We're trying to decode the behavior.
Right.
We're looking at the internal monologue you have when you wake up, the sort of social tennis of small talk, and finally, those high-stakes survival scripts you need when things go wrong in a city.
Yeah, we're going to extract the code, these specific vocabulary secrets that take you from student to native speaker in the eyes of the person you're talking to.
Exactly.
So let's start with the self, the internal world. We have this concept from Speak English Daily called shadowing. Now, to me, this sounds a bit like detective work or spycraft.
It does sound mysterious, doesn't it? But it's actually much closer to musical training or athletic conditioning.
Okay, athletic conditioning.
Yeah. The source material is absolutely adamant about one rule. When you are shadowing, you are not analyzing, you are copying. You listen and repeat exactly. You copy the rhythm, the tone, the speed.
The source was explicitly clear on this.
Yeah.
It said, don't think about grammar, which honestly goes against everything we're usually told in school.
Oh, completely.
We're trained to dissect the sentence before we even dare to say it.
It is totally counterintuitive, but think about it practically. If you are standing in line at a bakery and you're mentally diagramming the sentence structure of, I would like a croissant.
Focusing on the subject-verb agreement.
Right, or the conditional tense, you're going to stutter, you're going to freeze. Shadowing is about muscle memory. You listen to the native audio and you repeat it. Exact speed, exact pause, exact intonation. You're bypassing the analytical brain to train the mouth.
So it's physical. It's essentially gym class for your tongue.
Precisely. You are training your mouth to feel what the language is supposed to feel like. And the Speak English Daily transcript gives us the perfect workout routine to start with, which is the morning script.
Let's break that down.
Yeah, because it's a narrative of a standard morning, but when you look closely, it's full of these little fluency anchors.
I think people skip over the morning routine thinking it's too simple.
Nah.
But the devil is in the details here. The script starts at 7 a.m. The alarm rings loudly.
Loudly, which implies urgency right off the bat.
Right. But then we get this sequence, stretching, yawning,
Mhm.
and then this very specific sensory detail that I loved. The narrator drinks a glass of cold water first, then brushes their teeth for exactly 2 minutes.
Why do you think the source specifies exactly 2 minutes in cold water?
I honestly assumed it was just filler detail to make the sentence longer.
It's actually grounding. In a second language, learners tend to be really vague.
Yeah.
We say things like, I wash my face or I brush my teeth. It's flat.
Yeah, very flat.
But a native speaker lives in high definition. I washed my face with warm water. I brushed for exactly 2 minutes. When you shatter these details, you're training your brain to visualize the scene in English, not just translate the verb to wash.
That makes so much sense. It's the difference between a pencil sketch and a high-res photograph.
Yeah,
You're painting the scene.
exactly. And look at the wardrobe choice in the script. Putting on a comfortable blue shirt and black pants. Again, color and texture. It forces you to be present in the narrative.
The part that really stood out to me was the breakfast and departure. So turning on the coffee machine, making scrambled eggs and toast, and then the script says, I leave my house at 8:30 sharp.
Ah, yes, sharp. That is a serious power word.
It really is. It sounds so definitive.
It's one of the 5 vocabulary secrets we found in the source, and we should probably highlight why it works. Using sharp for time 8.30 sharp signals punctuality and control.
Because if you say, at exactly 8:30,
It's grammatically fine, sure, but it sounds a bit academic or robotic. 8.30 sharp is business. It implies you are on a schedule.
it's confident. And speaking of confidence, let's talk about the commute in the script. The narrator isn't just walking to the bus stop and waiting for a bus. They are waiting for the Nowhere's 12 bus.
Specificity again. It's the key to fluency. And while they ride, they listen to podcasts. It's a mundane detail, but narrating the mundane is how you build the bridge to the complex.
Right.
If you can't confidently narrate locking your door or checking the weather or waiting for the number 12, you certainly can't negotiate a contract or tell a funny story at a bar.
So you're essentially reclaiming your own life in the new language. You're
Yeah.
narrating your reality until it feels totally natural.
Exactly. You are owning your environment. And the Speak English Daily Source closes this loop with the evening routine. The energy really drops here. The day slows down.
We see the stop at the grocery store, getting milk, bread, and fresh vegetables, and then cooking in a small kitchen.
I really like that detail. Small kitchen. It adds a layer of humility to it. It feels real. It's not a mansion. It's a real life.
And the wind down is so relatable. Calling parents to ask about their day, which is a nice social touch, reading a few pages of an interesting book, taking a warm shower and putting on comfortable pajamas, and finally, setting the alarm for 7. It's a complete cycle.
It really is.
But before we move off the solo routine, I want to pin down the rest of those vocabulary secrets the source promised. We mentioned sharp. What else distinguishes the native from the learner here?
Well, there's grab. This one shows up a lot in movies, but learners rarely use it.
Yes, this is a huge marker. Learners almost always say, I take my keys, or I take my coat.
Which sounds a bit formal.
Or like you're stealing them, I take the keys.
Yeah, a little bit. Grab implies casual speed and efficiency. I grabbed my keys, I grabbed a coffee, let me just grab my phone. It adds dynamism to the sentence. It makes you sound active.
Then we have check.
Right, instead of you don't look at your phone to see the time. You
Mhm.
check it. You check the weather.
It implies you are gathering information, not just staring at an object.
Exactly. If you say, I looked at my email, it sounds passive. I checked my email sounds like you're working.
Here's one that I think trips up a lot of people, especially depending on what their first language is. Turn on and turn off.
Oh, the classic open the lights.
Right. In many languages, you literally open or close appliances or lights.
In English, if you say open the light, a native speaker might imagine you physically unscrewing the bulb casing. You turn on the coffee machine, you turn off the alarm, it's a binary switch. Getting that preposition right is a major fluency signal.
Because it stops the listener from having to mentally translate what you mean.
Exactly.
And the last one, which is surprisingly cozy, get into bed.
Versus go to bed. Go to bed is the plan or the intention, like I need to go to bed early. But get into bed is the physical action of climbing under the covers. If you're narrating your sensory experience, you get into bed.
So if I say to you, I grabbed my phone, checked the alarm, turned off the lights, and got into bed at 10:30 sharp here.
You sound like you were born speaking English. There is zero friction in that sentence.
Okay, so we've mastered the monologue. We can talk to ourselves in the mirror perfectly, but eventually you have to leave the house. You have to deal with other humans.
The variable factor. People are incredibly unpredictable.
Yeah, they are. So we're moving to the Mr. English Channel transcript. This is a dialogue between two characters, Emily and Paul. And looking at this, it feels less like a conversation and more like a tennis match.
That's a great analogy, actually. In a bad conversation or a beginner learner's conversation, someone asks a question, the other person answers, and silence.
Yeah.
The ball just drops. It hits the net.
Right. How are you? Fine. End of scene.
But Emily and Paul demonstrate the social loop. It's question, answer, validation, follow-up. They keep the ball in the air. They never let it hit the ground.
Let's look at the topics they use to keep this volley going.
Yeah.
They start with the weather, the classic safe zone. It's sunny and warm, but not hot.
That nuance, not hot, saves the conversation from being generic. But look at how they pivot to morning activities. Emily describes her walk in the park. She doesn't just say she saw flowers. She lists red, yellow, and white flowers. She's painting a picture for Paul.
And Paul counters with his activity.
Yeah.
He stayed home. But he wasn't just reading. He was reading a book about lions, tigers, and elephants.
See, this is the information gap theory in action. If Paul just said, I read a book, Emily has nothing to grab onto. It's a closed door.
Right.
By saying lions, tigers, and elephants, he gives her a hook, a handle to ask a follow-up question. He's making it easy for her to talk to him.
That's a really good point. You have to give people something to work with. They get into this great little debate about food preferences, too. It felt very real, the efficiency versus pleasure argument. Paul eats cereal because it's fast. Emily eats eggs because they're good.
And the coffee preferences, sugar versus no sugar. These are tiny details, but sharing preferences is how we build intimacy. It moves the conversation from facts to personality.
Then we get to pets. Emily has a white cat named Luna.
With blue eyes. And she sleeps all day.
Naturally. And Paul wants a dog. But not just a dog. A medium-sized dog to walk in the park.
Again, he's visualizing. But here is the critical part, the social glue that holds this whole thing together. Throughout this entire exchange, listen to how they react to each other. When Emily mentions Luna, Paul says, "That's a beautiful name."
And when Paul talks about his ideas, Emily says things like, "I agree 100%.
That is the key. They are validating. That sounds wonderful. Good choice. I agree. If you strip those phrases out, the conversation becomes an interrogation.
Do you have a cat? Yes. What is its name? Luna.
Right, it's cold. With the validation, it's a connection.
It's polite, but it's also strategic. It buys you thinking time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. While you're saying that's a beautiful name, your brain is planning the next sentence.
The conversation wraps up with travel dreams. Emily wants Italy. She mentions pasta, pizza, gelato, and cities like Rome and Florence. Paul wants Japan, sushi, temples, mountains. And he specifically mentions cherry blossoms.
Cherry blossoms. That is a high-level vocabulary nugget. It creates an image. If he just said flowers, it's boring. Specificity is charismatic. People want to talk to people who have specific, interesting thoughts.
So the takeaway from Emily and Paul isn't really about cats or sushi. It's about the structure. Keep the ball moving, validate the other person, and be specific enough to give them something to reply to.
Exactly. Be generous with your details. Don't make the other person work too hard.
Okay, so we've done the cozy morning routine, we've done the polite chit-chat, now we have to up the stakes. We're moving to the Maxenia podcast sources. These are what I call the survival scripts.
This is where fluency becomes a safety issue. If you get the grammar wrong here, you don't just sound silly, you get lost, or you stay hungry, or you don't get the right medicine.
Let's start with the bus stop. This is the Universal City Experience Total Confusion, discussing the unreliability of the bus schedule.
The script highlights the frustration, sure, but the critical skill here is distinguishing the route numbers and destinations. The number 22 goes downtown, near the library. The number 35 goes somewhere else. You have to hear that difference.
And they use small talk about the weather being perfect for a walk to smooth over the waiting. But then we have the no internet nightmare scenario, asking for directions when your phone dies.
This is a test of listening comprehension, not just speaking. You have to build a mental map in real time. The specific script here is, go straight 2 blocks, see the big supermarket on the left, turn right onto Central Avenue.
That big supermarket on the left, that is your anchor.
Right. If you miss the supermarket, you miss the turn. And notice the prepositions. Straight, left, right, onto. These are directional coordinates. You cannot afford to be fuzzy on left versus right here. You need to know them instinctively.
Let's move to the grocery store script. This isn't just browsing, this is pure logistics. The customer needs specific things, olive oil and pasta.
And the employee directs them to aisle 5. But then comes the curveball almond milk.
Which logic would dictate is with the regular milk?
And it is, but the script clarifies, aisle 3, the dairy section, even though it's technically non-dairy, and the bakery, located in the back, near the deli.
In the back. Near the deli. These are chunks of language. You don't analyze in plus the plus back.
Yeah.
You just learn the chunk in the back.
And the checkout interaction holds a very modern, very necessary phrase. Do you have reusable bags?
I feel like I get asked that 5 times a day. If you don't know that phrase, you're just standing there staring blankly while people wait behind you.
Or you're juggling 10 apples in your arms walking to the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the pharmacy script. To me, this is the most important one. Health and body. Describing pain accurately is actually really hard in a second language.
It is, because pain is subjective. You can't point to it like a loaf of bread. The customer in this script has a headache, but they don't just say it hurts. They say pressure behind the eyes.
Which is a very clinical distinction. Not a sharp pain, but pressure.
It is. Pressure suggests sinus or stress. Throbbing might imply a migraine. Sharp might imply something else. By using pressure behind the eyes, the pharmacist can diagnose it correctly as likely from stress.
And the treatment instructions. A pain reliever, 1 tablet every 6 hours, max 4 in 24 hours.
Numbers are non-negotiable here. You have to be able to hear 6 and not 60. The difference is dangerous.
And for the sore throat, honey and lemon lozenges.
Lozenges. That is a tough word. It's technical but common. If you ask for candy, they'll point you to the gum. You need to know lozenges.
Finally, we have the restaurant, the reward for surviving the day.
Ordering specific items. It seems simple, but look at the customization in the script. The customer orders tomato and basil soup, but for the sandwich, a grilled chicken sandwich,
With mustard sauce.
and mango juice, and for dessert, lemon pie.
Why is listing the ingredients so important here? Why not just say, I'll have the chicken sandwich?
It's about agency. You aren't just pointing at a picture on the menu like a tourist. You are curating your meal. With mustard sauce shows you know what you want. It shows you understand the menu. And the final hurdle, payment. Confirming they accept cards.
In a cash-only spot, asking that before you eat saves you a lot of embarrassment.
Absolutely. It's the ultimate survival question in the modern city.
So when we step back and synthesize all these sources, from the solo shadowing of the morning toothbrushing, to the socializing with Emily and Paul, to the final transactional necessity of ordering lemon pie, what's the big picture? We've gone from internal to external.
We've mapped the ecosystem of a day. And what connects them all is this idea of chunks. We've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. Fluency isn't about knowing the entire dictionary. It's about having these pre-assembled blocks of language ready to go.
Right, you don't build the house brick by brick every time you speak. You use prefabricated walls.
Precisely. You automatically know that olive oil is in an aisle. You know you grab your keys. You know you have pressure behind your eyes. You pull these scripts off the shelf of your mind as complete units. You don't conjugate the verb to grab in your head. You just say, I grabbed my keys.
It's almost like you're building a library of mini-movies in your head.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the more scripts you have, the script for the pharmacy, the script for the bus, the script for the morning, the less improvisation you have to do, which means way less anxiety.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener. We want to leave you with a thought that's a little bit provocative, a little bit uncomfortable.
Good learning always is a little uncomfortable.
Think about your own daily routines, just the last 60 minutes of your life. If you had to narrate that past hour in English, in real time, every tiny action, every feeling, every object you touched, which specific vocabulary words would you be missing? Where would you get stuck?
Would you know how to say you grabbed the remote? Or that you felt a stiffness in your neck? Or that you turned the kettle on?
Find that gap. Find the moment where your internal narrator goes silent because you don't know the word. That gap is your next learning opportunity.
Don't look for the fancy words in the textbook. Look for the missing script in your own reality. That's where true fluency lives.
That's it for this deep dive. Go grab your keys, check your phone, and make sure you get home safely.
See you next time.